Hi, it's Olivia, and this will probably be like a chatty / recommendation / TBR kind of video, really whatever, I just felt like filming. In the month of January, I read a grand total of one book. It was a massive book, and that was Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, and then school started, and I've just been getting into the groove and routine of things, because it's going to be busy. My head just hasn't really been in the game, you know? But I'm ready to get back into reading, and what better time than Black History Month. If you didn't know, there's also a readathon going on right now called Blackathon, being hosted by 3 other booktubers. I won't be participating because I honestly don't think I'll participate in like any readathons this year. I can't dedicate the time that I want and to do all the challenges and all that stuff, so I'll just be watching from the sidelines, you know? But I wanted to start out with some children's books. I mean like really little kids, so baby books and toddlers and early, you know, like early readers. I was thinking about it, and when we read our books with the full novels and no pictures, you know, when you read a description, if it's not very clearly stated that the person's skin color is a shade of brown or has some sort of color to it, or you're not given the description of the hair texture or of a character or something, the default setting in your mind is probably going to be of a white character. That's kind of just what happens. The default setting when no descriptions are given is of a white character. But you can't really do that with children's books if it's a human character. You know, in children's books, characters can be absolutely anything. They could be blobs, they can be cars, they can be animals, like they can be anything. But if it's a person, they normally have like there's a color to them, you know, unless it's like everyone's purple. But if they have skin tones, it's very intentional, and you could see that immediately. It's not like a description where if they don't say anything, you don't really know until they say, oh, this character is black. Like, you can tell. Anyway, these books all have some black characters in them, but I wanted to start, like, there's these 2 board books, baby board books, and you can find some really adorable baby board books that have children of color, but I especially love these ones because I read them to my nephew in a video, if you remember, a couple months back. I'm so surprised by that video. I watch it all the time, and he was sitting still and listening to me. I don't know if I'll ever find a chance, especially now that he is mobile and moving all over the place and walking, but yeah, I read these, and then of course I keep mentioning Vashti Harrison's books. She has this one, which is just autobiography, so this one obviously is a much older reader than this one. And the other one that she has is specifically on Black women in history, and they're both wonderful, and she's an amazing illustrator. And the other children's book I wanted to mention is The Last Stop on Market Street, where these are just books that are like in my possession, you know, that I thought were suitable for this video, but by Matt De La Pena and Christian Robinson. It's probably the only one where the author is not a black author, but this has a black illustrator, and the illustrations are a standout with this book. This is an award-winning children's book. It's about this boy and his grandmother on a bus ride throughout the city and finding the beauty in it, and it's really, really cute. One other thing with the children's books is I feel like they're reflecting like the natural hair movement, because when I walk around like Barnes & Noble or the library, if I come across a book that has a black girl on the cover, chances are it's going to be one about her embracing her hair. That's what I've noticed is a big trend. It's like, I love my fro, or I love my nappy hair, my braids, something like that. Okay, now I just have like some other books that are sitting right here that I wanted to talk about in some way. So the first one is Kindred by Octavia Butler. I started this last night. This has been on my radar for the longest time. I read like the prologue and the first chapter. It's really compelling. Let's see, this one is from last year. There was a bunch of books last year that I started and didn't finish. Like it's kind of embarrassing to look back on videos where I was talking about all these books I plan to read and like how I even started them, and people are probably wondering like, hey, what were your thoughts on that book? And chances are I didn't finish it, but one of them was Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi, and yeah, pretty much what I just said. I started it, never finished it, because one of the things I kept doing last year was starting a million books at once and then not finishing any of them. This fell into that trap, sadly, and I would love to get back to it. I also checked this out from the library. It was right at the front when I walked to the library. How could I not pick this up? Called Black Enough. What I can gather, this also is reflective of something that I feel really strongly about, which is telling stories with black characters that's not only about their oppression, also with movies or TV shows, whatever. It seems like there is an endless range of stories that can be told by non-people of color. Like there's countless superhero movies and sci-fi movies and dramas and romantic comedies and thrillers and horrors. Like there is an endless amount of stories that they are able to have told. And then it's like that range shrinks when you start to introduce like casts that have black casts and like black characters. It's like some of the only stories that Hollywood and the publishing industry deems worthy to be told are those of their racial struggles or of civil rights movements or injustices. I'm not all that good at explaining it, but like you'll have books like this where you do have black characters and yet their story is about racial struggles and injustices in the system, but you don't really see these same characters in stories like this, fighting off demons, or in a random thriller like this, going through multiple dimensions, or in some fairyland, or whatever story we got going on here. What is this? Dark Shade of Magic, going in between different parallel worlds. You don't normally see those characters in those stories. They get stories that are about the struggles of their race. And that's not to say the stories are bad, it's just asking for a variety of stories. In fact, those stories happen to be loved by Hollywood. You know Hollywood loved 12 Years a Slave, Selma, Django Unchained. I think everyone knows that's one of the reasons why Black Panther was so huge. Like, an all-black cast in a major blockbuster, like a major blockbuster movie, and it wasn't surrounding like a slave narrative, or it wasn't all about the oppression of their race. Speaking kind of like these sci-fi books, there is this book called Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. This was one I actually did read, and I never really talked about it much because I wasn't the biggest fan of it, or I know it's a series, and so maybe this critique I'm going to have, maybe it would be resolved in the next books, but this story just didn't suit this this short format for me. I would have preferred this as a much more bigger, like a couple 100-page book, you know, with more details and just more to it. But I'm mentioning this because I know a lot of people enjoyed this one. And just because, you know, something's not my favorite doesn't mean it can't be yours. What else is there to talk about? Okay, Memoirs. The big one of the past few months has been Becoming by Michelle Obama. I got this book as a gift for my sister, and I feel so proud in that choice because she's just about done with it. Like, she has really enjoyed reading it. Got her the copy, but I didn't get myself a copy, and I'm currently number 99 on a list of holds at the library for a copy. So it might be a hot minute until I get around to this, but it's definitely on my radar. Another memoir is Hunger by Roxane Gay, and I have a review on that one. And there's also Born in Crime by Trevor Noah. If you like his style of humor, or if you just want to learn a little bit more about his background, that's also a really good one. Also, there is this one book of poetry that it's not at my local Barnes & Noble, it's not at my library, and I've requested it at the library, but I don't know when they'll get it in. And it's called Don't Call Us Dead by Denise Smith. I'm also racing against time with this camera because the battery keeps going out. It's just giving me the hardest time, so shout out to my camera. So if anyone has read that collection of poetry, let me know if you didn't like it, if you did. Yeah, I'm going to end this here, but let me know any recommendations or any books that you're excited for, anything related to this, and I will see you in another video. Bye.